Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network, and I am Ace, and you're watching another episode of Sports Minute. And tonight, I have the crew with me. The whole crew is here tonight. We'll start out with none other than Mr. Crispy Bacon. How are you doing tonight, my man?
Doing good. How's everybody doing this evening?
Fantastic. And then, of course, Mr. Big B. How you doing tonight?
Hey, doing good. It's Wednesday. We know what time that means. Poker night did not go so hot for me tonight, but hey, get to sit and talk to you guys and get to finish up watching wrestling here, then switch over to Sports Center.
I'm actually used to you saying that it didn't go so well for me tonight.
I know you are.
All right, Mr. Big Game James, how you doing tonight?
Well, better than I've been. I've been sick since last Friday. Finally, my voice is back, and I'm just doing this for a test run, hoping that it survives the show. But it's been a week of hell.
Well, we're definitely glad to have you back, and hopefully it all works out for you, and you can survive the show. And then, of course, Callan, how you doing tonight, my man?
Doing good. Happy New Year, gents. Good to see you all again on a program. We had a great first episode of Press Row, getting back onto somewhat regular programming here for the most part. But no, we're doing great. And again, wishing everybody out there a very happy New Year for 2024.
I know. Can you believe it's already 2024? That is absolutely
Don't
crazy.
remind me. I'm going on 30 in May.
It's already there. 2024. All right. So with that, we do have some great topics for you tonight. Should be some fun ones. The first one we're gonna kick it off with the NFL, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the MVP race and how people are talking about who should be the MVP. And there's actually a lot of talks out there saying that Lamar Jackson has officially earned the MVP due to his play. Of course, because Baltimore's actually been beating some good teams. It's not like the last several weeks they've been beaten up on the lower tier teams. No, they've been beaten up on the better teams in the NFL, and Lamar Jackson has looked really good doing it. So James, I'll go ahead and start out with you on this one. Do you feel right now that Lamar Jackson has earned the right to be the MVP?
Yes, I think the popularity contest, just like in the NBA, we saw Joel Embiid steal the MVP later last season over Jokic. Jokic did go on and get the better prize out of all of it. But I think Lamar Jackson, along with the winning, like you mentioned, he's been performing very well, throwing and running. Touchdowns are up. The rushing yards are up. He's been mediocre up until I want to say 5 or 6 weeks ago when they beat the Chargers on a Sunday night, and ever since then they've been winning. They have the number 1 seed locked up. He doesn't have to play on Sunday, and I think he still gets it. The only competition would be Christian McCaffrey of the Niners, but I think he's going to sit out as well, and he hasn't been on as Lamar has, and I think it's just popularity race, and timing comes with it. You could have had Tua or Tyreek Hill earlier in the season, but both of those guys have fizzled. Hill with injuries, and Tua's has been good as of late. And then Brock Purdy, up and down, but I think more of it is having the talent around him, so anybody would thrive doing the most of what he's doing. Anybody honestly could do unless they really suck. So I'm gonna go Lamar Jackson. I think he deserves it. They're the number 1 seed. I think that helps as well. And it's always a quarterback-driven award. So yeah, I think Lamar deserves it.
Well, yeah, I was going to come out and say because you did mention about the popularity contest and everything, but I think that I always say the one thing that you want to remember too is that Lamar Jackson also does play quarterback. So because he plays quarterback, that helps him a lot too. So that's going to put him over the top personally to me, but not only he's this is the way I put it. He's a running back playing the quarterback position. That's the way I put it. Because Lamar Jackson is more of a running quarterback. So that's why I say he's a running back playing a quarterback position. But because he has that QB name back there, that's why he's more of the favorite to win it. And I know you could put Christian McCaffrey in there, but because he's a running back, I don't know. That kind of feels like that kind of throws McCaffrey to the side. And I know you mentioned about Brock Purdy. Yeah, I think Brock Purdy was there for a while, but because he had that 4 interception game, I think that kind of really hurt him right there. I think people were talking about Tua, but then when Tyreek Hill missed that game or so, it really showed people that, hey, Tyreek Hill is actually the true MVP on that Dolphins team because you took him away, and that hurt Tua a lot right there. And so I think that those were like the guys that were in the running for it. But right now, if I did have to choose, I would go with Lamar Jackson. All right, so Callan, I know you're not really a big football guy, but I'll throw this over to you anyways. You think Lamar Jackson is the MVP?
I would go with Tyreek Hill over Lamar Jackson, not for the fact of like the popularity, but again, it's the letter V in that award. It's the value to the franchise, not based on the numbers, the metrics, the analytics, the team record. I look at it more though as like James said though, or that everyone will look at this as either, like Brandon has long said, like the MVP in the NFL, the NBA, even in the Heisman, they're all based on popularity or the big, sexy names and not based on the numbers. I think, though, that though I love Lamar Jackson's game, this is Tyreek Hill's award to lose, in my opinion, not for the fact, again, of like, well, the Dolphins are like the 3 seed. Like Adam just said, though, if you take Tyreek Hill off of the Dolphins, they're probably not an 11-win team, despite having Tua Tagovailoa as their starting quarterback. Again, I love Lamar Jackson. I love his game. But when it boils down to that letter V in the awards name of most valuable player, not based upon the stats, how the team's doing, Tyreek Hill maybe, perhaps closing in on maybe single season records for receiving. He's basically has gone out there and played on one, good ankle basically the past couple of weeks from what I've gathered or seen or heard about or read in the box scores, though. But I think we all probably, guys, know at the end of the day, though, that the MVP award will probably be to Lamar or Mahomes or some quarterback out there, where, again, it totally defeats the purpose of the value part of that award's name, where, yeah, numbers are great. Yeah, the record's great, but it's value to the team. Again, you take Tyreek Hill out of that Dolphins team, they're nowhere near as good as they are. And I think, though, that James is onto a great tangent. Though I would have maybe thought of Purdy or McCaffrey. Guys, we see this all the time in baseball. When you have teams like the Dodgers and the Padres and the Braves who have multiple star players on their roster, they all cancel out each other when it boils down to voting because they, in a way, take away their votes away from their teammates. So, though it could have been Purdy or McCaffrey, one vote for one of those guys takes one vote away from his teammates. So, again, I love Lamar Jackson, but I look at it from the value perspective when it boils down to the MVP for any sport. I'd go Tyreek Hill at this juncture.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with what you're saying about the V part, about the valuable part. Because I think if you were to look at a team like the 49ers, if you were to say, okay, Christian McCaffrey, we're going to sit you out for a couple games, and we still have Purdy in. But besides Purdy, you still have Deebo Samuel, you
Brandon
still have
Ayuk.
Kittle, you still have Brandon Ayuk, you still have Jawan Jennings. So I'm telling you, I
Chase Young
think
playing on defense.
so I think that San Francisco would still win games regardless if Christian McCaffrey was playing. Even if you took Brock Purdy away from quarterback. Well, Sam Darnold's the backup. I think he would go in there and win games too because of how talented that offense and defense is. So again, it does come down to that valuable aspect. Who is more valuable to their team? Is it Lamar Jackson? Is it Tyreek Hill? And that's kind of what you have to look at. And so when you took Hill away, like I was saying, Tua wasn't the same guy. He
And
was,
you and I are in the same boat where our vote would probably go to Tyreek Hill over Lamar or Purdy or McCaffrey.
yes, and I would say Tyreek, but unfortunately, I think it's going to be Lamar because he's a
Same.
quarterback. That's why. That's the only reason
Exactly.
I'm saying that. All right, Big B, is this Lamar Jackson's MVP to lose?
No, it's Kirk Cousins is to lose. I mean, no. I mean, the thing is you know, Callan, I think you nailed it, and I think you're speaking the way I would speak. It's the letter B, value. And, you know, yes, Kirk Cousins out there, I was just looking at his stats. You know, he was 1-6 before he left. So, I mean, yeah, he was putting up the numbers, and I think he was, you know, people were talking that he could win the MVP, but, you know, but Tyreek Hill should win it. I mean, he missed one game so far. If he doesn't, you know, he's pushing about, you know, 2,000 receiving yards, which hasn't been done in a long time. So, yeah, it's Lamar's to lose. I mean, if he plays one quarter, I think he wraps it up. I mean, unless Purdy can come out or CMC can come out and have a great game. But they have nothing to play for, so who knows how much they're going to play. But, I mean, yeah, Lamar, it's Lamar's to lose. I mean, you know, too bad Hill got hurt because, again, we talk about most valuable player, and it shows that the Dolphins and Tua can't do it without Hill. So, I mean, they might have won the game, but, you know, Tua's numbers did hurt.
So to answer your question there, Big B, this weekend there will be no Lamar Jackson. There will be no Christian McCaffrey. Those two are not playing.
Yeah.
But Tua and Tyreek Hill are going to obviously be playing because the division is on the line on Sunday night. So those two will be playing. Lamar and Christian McCaffrey are not. So
Okay.
there's your answer to that. Crispy Bacon, your thought? Does Lamar Jackson win it?
I think so. Unless there's another player or quarterback out there that, you know, shows something a little extra than Lamar did. But I think it's his to lose at this point. A couple weeks ago, you had Dak in the conversation, but then he lost to Buffalo. That kind of eliminated his, I guess, eligibility for it. For many years up until like after Adrian Peterson won it. I think that was the last quarterback to win it. But it should be any player that's like Callan said, valuable to your team. But really, it's more of a quarterback award, which is unfortunate. But I think right now it's Lamar's to lose unless somebody just does something, you know, off the wall.
Well, I agree with everybody there. So Lamar Jackson, congratulations. I guess we might as well just say it now. Lamar Jackson, congratulations on your second MVP award. Even though whether or not we all agree with that or not is a whole entirely different thing.
And don't forget, Lamar should have been a Viking, but they didn't want to take him.
Again, you're correct there. He should have been, but the Vikings neglected to take him. Wasn't the first bad decision that they made. Okay, so after that, we'll go into our next topic. We know that you have Michigan going up against Washington in the national championship game, and before like in the playoff games that we just previously had, I think a lot of people actually had Alabama beating Michigan. I think a lot of people thought that was coming because Michigan had been, you know, in these playoffs and they kept losing. And so everyone's like, can Michigan finally get over the hump? Alabama's going to probably beat them again. Everybody kept thinking that. Well, guess what? Michigan finally pulled off the victory. They finally got it. Now, do I think that Michigan's going to beat Washington? I don't think so. I'm actually going with Washington in this. I think that Penix Jr. right now is playing on a whole nother level. So I am going to go with Washington here. So, Callan, I'll start out with you on this one. National championship. You have Washington.
I said on Press Row on Wednesday afternoon that, again, I'm not really big into football, but I do watch, bowl season for college athletics, though, and I'm eager for this game on Monday for the fact of, like I said, though, on my show today, high-powered, high-octane, air raid offensive Washington against a smash-mouth Jim Harbaugh-led defense, though the Wolverines are favored by 4.5 right now to beat Washington in Houston. I like Washington, not for the fact of them being a West Coast team or any of that sort of thing, but kind of like maybe in a way like that Pac-12 into the grave, Pac-12, bittersweet symphony of the conference going down. But at the same time, though, I do think it's going to be a matchup with two really good quarterbacks with McCarthy and Penix Jr. And I think, though, that in a way, though, I didn't bring it up, but Michael Penix Jr., I think, proved to people during the Sugar Bowl that he should have won the Heisman more and more in my mind, to be very frank and honest. But at the end of the day, though, should be a great game, 1 versus 2. We get an unbeaten national champion who's going to win the game, and someone takes their first loss of the whole season. Coming at the very end of the season, I'm really eager to see, though, how this Washington offense stacks up against this Michigan defense, though. But I like Ohio State. I like Washington. I like the Huskies. I like Kelsey Plum's alma mater and the Squeaker on Monday. And I'm just really eager to kind of see, though, how this whole game plays out. But I do like the Huskies to win this one, though, going away maybe by 3.
That is the one thing that I will agree with you that you're talking about. Penix Jr. showed why he should have been the Heisman Trophy winner because of
Big time.
Yeah, exactly. What he did against Texas, he proved that. All right, so Big B, Michigan or Washington?
Man, this is tough because growing up, I saw a lot of Michigan games, kind of was a fan of them in the 90s. The bowl system, everybody's got their problems with it. I kind of want to see Washington win just to kind of stick it to Michigan, and to the bowl system and stuff like that. Give me a good game. If I got to pick a winner, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say we're gonna get an overtime game, and I want it to end on a pick six. I'll go.
Wow.
I'm gonna go Washington though.
Washington on a
I
pick
just
six.
my family and my Uncle John and my cousins by picking Washington, but give me a good game.
Come on now, though. A Golden Gopher fan rooting for the Wolverines, you can't do that, my friend. No way.
I know, but yeah, no. Give me a good game. Give me a pick six to end it in overtime.
So you have Warren and Tim Hendricks who are both saying Washington. Warren saying Washington by 13, and Tim is just saying Washington.
Wow.
Yeah, 13.
You
That's
got
a
plus 3.
Tim would know. I just pissed off my uncle, so he should know by firsthand that I just pissed off my uncle by saying Washington's going to win it.
All right. Crispy, you taking Washington or Michigan?
Well, for one of these two teams, they're going to go off into the sunset. Both going to be Big Ten. Washington's moving to the Big Ten, but I think it's going to be Harbaugh's last game for Michigan. He's going to go out on top. Michigan's going to win it. It's going to be interesting when they hand over the trophy, because I think Big Ten kind of suspended Harbaugh, and now they're going to have to give the trophy up. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going Michigan though.
All right, James.
I was able to watch a little bit of both bowl games. little naps in between. So maybe I didn't get to watch all of the action, but to me, it felt like Michigan is the best overall team on every side of the ball, and special teams. What worries me about Washington, they have two of their main offensive guys kind of banged up. Their running back and receiver in the Sugar Bowl there, but they were able to hold on. The melancholy thing is, being a Pac-12 fan forever, this will be the last game for Pac-12 football, and luckily it went all the way in its last dance. Washington has given that to me at least, so that's been cool to see. It would be nice if they made an upset. Penix Jr. would have to make those frozen rope throws, but I think Michigan's defense is too good. They'll get to him. They'll make him throw when he doesn't want to. Michigan with their running attack, passing attack, they're just going to wear down Washington, I think, especially on the ground. So, unfortunately, I'm going to go with Michigan winning it all. But, man, I was just happy to see Washington even make it. But hopefully I'm wrong, because that'd be a great way for the Pac-12 to finish its football out if Washington won it all. I just don't know about Harbaugh. Even if he wins or loses, I don't know what he'll do. I hope he's not a Raider. That's all I know. So I'm gonna go with Michigan, but I'm really rooting for Washington.
All right, so that was actually going to be my next question involved in this. So James, you kind of answered it. Crispy, you kind of answered it a little bit. So Callan, I'm going to ask you that too. What do you think? Let's say Michigan wins the Natty. What do you think Jim Harbaugh does? Does he in fact leave Michigan and go take the NFL job, or does he return?
Well, I know I'm the big loudmouth who ranted and raved that the Wolverines didn't deserve to be in on press row because that Jim Harbaugh had 2 strikes on him for violating the rules of the NCAA bylaws, not once but twice in the same season. And I had a whole entire rant about that on press row fairly recently. But today I admitted that I was wrong about them not being in or getting in, because I felt that they should not have gotten in. And then I did backtrack and say that Florida State's a bunch of sore losers for how they played in the Orange Bowl because they got snubbed in their minds. And that's a whole different can of worms, though. But this is a crossroads, I think. I think I read a report, though, that came out on ESPN.com that said that even if Jim Harbaugh does go to the NFL, win, lose, or draw in the title game, there would be an NFL-issued suspension for his conduct during his college tenure at Michigan. I don't know if the reports were true, though, but I did think I heard something along those lines, though. But you figure, though, that he also did just change agents to Don Yee, who represents Tom Brady and a few other big-name people in the football world. Part of me does think that he's moving on. Win or lose on Monday in Houston, that he's going to be moving on to the Raiders, the Chargers maybe, and I hope that he doesn't go to the Chargers, rather him go to the Raiders and not the Chargers, because I just hate the Chargers in general. Sorry, James. But at the same time, though, there is that, I think he has like a 10-year contract also that he could perhaps sign as well from Michigan. So it might be that like that rock in a hard place, though. But again, I still do have like part of my bias or my opinion, though, that I don't think that the committee and the CFP want Michigan to win this game because they know that Harbaugh has screwed up twice in the same season and nothing really came out of it. And it would be like a very awkward situation. James, you would know better than a lot of us about how Pete Rozelle was kind of reluctant to give Al Davis one of the trophies because he thought if one thing went this way that they would have like doused the commissioner in water or whatever it was, and Al called the dogs off, though. Like, I don't know, though, if the committee and the chairman or the higher-ups of the NCAA brass want to have that kind of similar issue come about, though, where, we never, I mean, I know that it wouldn't happen, but, like, if Harbaugh goes off the rails and the team does something on stage towards the chairman or the presenter of the trophy, Like, they don't want to have like that cloud dangle over this game on Monday and dangle over the first, era of the bracketed CFP where it is going to 12 teams. So, like, they don't want to have the controversy of Michigan and what did or did not go right or wrong happen. At the end of the day, I think regardless, win or lose, Jim Harbaugh is going to be in the NFL, either with the Chicago Bears or the Las Vegas Raiders, and maybe, but a far-fetched maybe, the Spanos Family Organization in Inglewood, California.
That could be. I mean, I think there's a report of the Bears not wanting to release or fire their coach. So that could be an issue there. I know he played for Chicago, but
I mean, Chicago. I mean, I don't really, New England maybe if Belichick somehow, some way has shown the door when the year's over. That'd be an interesting wild card. Forget the Chargers. I think that the biggest wild card out of this whole fray would be like the Patriots come knocking and wanting Jim Harbaugh as their next head coach. Maybe, I don't know. Brandon, what do you think about Ace's question though? Perhaps where does Jim Harbaugh go from here, win or lose on Monday in Houston?
The thing is, I still think Michigan should not have been in for Harbaugh's actions, because now one thing I'm afraid of as a fan is if Michigan wins, are they going to strip the title a couple years down the road here? If Harbaugh does jump to the pro ranks, then why are we suspending him? We're going to have some repercussions if he jumps. I don't get that. So I think what's going to happen is, win or lose, I think he's out of Michigan. I like to see him go back to Chicago. I think no matter what, I think that's a good fit for him. But I could see New England knocking on the door and saying, "Hey, come here. We'll give you as much control as you want to build your team up." And then checks on his way out anyway. So that's where I don't see him going to Oakland. I don't see him going to Chargers. I think it's the Bears' job or New England job.
But
James,
if
what do you think?
Okay.
He's definitely not going to Oakland, Big B, because, nothing's there anymore.
Vegas.
Yeah.
Vegas.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
No, it's just funny. All these years, I'm like used to saying Oakland. The thing is, I think you brought up, or no, Callan brought up New England now, and then you brought New England up. They do not want someone to have the same power Belichick has had.
That's true.
Where he's lost his fastball.
Whole new chapter, whole new era in club history. Okay.
Where you don't want
owner,
GM, or president of the moves, basically. You don't want something like that anymore. Yeah, you don't want that anymore. You want a straight coach. And then you hire GM before that. But I think New England wants to get away with that. And then I don't think Harbaugh can handle both. I really don't. His mannerisms, I just don't see that. It'd be nice. Chicago needs a little boost in enthusiasm. So I think that'd be nice. Chargers need it.
And by the way, you would think though when you have 2 picks in the top 10 that could be like somewhat of a bargaining chip maybe for Harbaugh to lure him and get rid of Matt Eberflus.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. Chargers need an identity. They don't have one.
Their identity's in San Diego. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean with the team though, they don't play. They never play when you know what you're gonna get. The intensity. They just don't have anything. So I think Jim would kind of...
And they always seem to be ravished by injuries every year, and it's always the big studs, like Herbert again getting hurt for second or third time in his career already. Keenan Allen's always hurt.
Mike Williams is always out. And then for the Raiders, I would hate that because Antonio Pierce has done his damnedest to bring the Raiders back to respectability, at least where they should be. how they should be acting, as the renegades of the football land and all that. So I would hate for Mark Davis to go out and get another big name and get disappointed and eventually have to pay him down the road with him not coaching. That's what I would hate. So hopefully Chicago, or I would hate him with the Chargers, of course, just because that would lead them to having an identity. I just want them to be unknown forever. So yeah, Chicago would be good because they need a boost of enthusiasm. They just need something. And this almost reminds me of like when Pete Carroll left USC, he took the first job out of there. I mean, I remember that like yesterday where, oh yeah, everything's changing. He's getting out of there before, he gets all the sanctions and all the problems.
James, if I may real quick, before I give this over to Chris, this might be like a press rope question for you, but it just kind of popped into my head, though, because you brought up the fact that Mark Davis has gone out mainly and hired like the big, splashy, big name. Hey, we just hired this coach. Come watch us play at Allegiant Stadium. Could another move like this in your mind, and this is more of like the media and business side, my podcast bias coming out, though, James. But like I've long said, though, recently on the PR pod, the fact, though, that the Raiders are overshadowed right now by a successful hockey team and a successful women's NBA team who've won championships in the past season or past 2 seasons, again, 2 for the Aces, 1 for the Golden Knights, would a Jim Harbaugh hire by the Raiders, in your mind, seem desperate by the Raiders, knowing maybe in the back of Mark Davis's mind, hey, the hockey team's better than my team, and even my WNBA team is better than my football team, as a way to lure people to come to games and not let the tourists drive the Vegas fans out of the home stadium?
I don't think that has anything to do with that. I think no matter what, I think if the Raiders get back to winning, they'll be the Raiders again, no matter what. The problem was when moving to Vegas, you're going to have all those visiting fans come anyway. So you just knew that was going to be the issue. And even if they start winning with or with Harbaugh, that'll still be the issue. So it's going to take forever, if never,
Womp womp.
to get a true fan base there in Vegas. That's why I wish they were back in LA, because I would gladly accept them back and be a season ticket holder. I don't know how, but I would have done that in a heartbeat if they were able to move back. But I just, yeah, it'd be a desperation move, and again, it'd be like getting the next hot expensive item
right,
or toy, and it would just depend on winning. And especially with Mark Davis owning the Aces, I just don't think it matters that much. I think it just matters with the NFL when it comes to that side of the business. It's like, okay, we have to get back to the way the Raiders
way
were.
in a way.
Yeah, we just have to get back to that first before we worry about how we're doing in the city. They're almost, you know what? They're almost just like a show in Vegas that, everybody's
Fair.
coming to see, but it's not the locals. It's just, and this was what I was worried about when they moved there. I'm like, damn it. If they start to lose so many years in a row,
they're going to become a 3-ring sideshow circus in Vegas and get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, the lights won't be as bright on the building. Everybody's going to go do something else, especially when the NBA gets there. When you think about that, and MLB, there's alternate forms of entertainment sports-wise. You got UNLV there as well. When all those teams are doing good and the Raiders aren't doing well, kind of like how it is now,
yeah,
it's going to make a difference. And like I said, that was the worst outcome I could think of. But if Harbaugh goes there, it'll create some juice. But again, it won't matter because they're just a tourist attraction in Las Vegas.
Chris, what do you think? Where would be the most ideal spot for Jim Harbaugh if he does, in fact, defect to the NFL after Monday's game, win or lose with Michigan?
Well, it's like what Tim was saying in the comments. I think Washington's vacancy is going to, show the next Monday or that same day. If he loses to Washington, I could see him starting to look at different positions, coaching positions. I don't think Oakland's going to be available or Vegas. Washington could be a spot. Carolina could be a spot. I don't think Los Angeles Chargers could be a spot. But it
That would
seems
leave
more
Chicago and New
likely.
England then if that's the case.
Bears reportedly say they're going to keep their coach. I'm thinking Chargers. Chargers or Raiders.
I would probably think Raiders, but I would be more lenient to James's point. I'd rather give Antonio Pierce the full reins and take the interim tag off entering next season. And also, I would wonder, though, if Jim Harbaugh wants to go through a full-blown rebuild. Chargers, New England, having to tear the team down, Washington, Carolina. Again, I talked about the fact that their owner got fined $300,000 for hurling that drink at the fan on Sunday in Jacksonville. So, I mean, who really knows what'll happen in this case? James, did you want to make a point?
No, I was storing my drink like Tapper, but no, I think Washington's gonna go with the enemy. I think look at the ownership there; they're very diverse. I think the enemy has earned a NFL head coaching job for a while now. I think Washington is the team to do it.
Did I miss something? Did the Commanders release their coach?
No, but I think it's time to happen.
More than likely on Black Monday.
Yeah.
They're going to do it after the season, but there's been talk.
It's time.
Well, there you go. Harbaugh reunites with Rivers or Riviera or whatever his name is, and Singletary brings him to Chicago with them.
Tim has a good point, though. Does Jim really want to go where John was a coordinator in regards to the Commanders, I believe, if that is correct? That'd be interesting.
Nah, he's going to come back as a head coach. He ain't going nowhere, coordinator.
I think he would not want to go through a full-fledged, like, tear it down, build it back up like he did with San Francisco at one point in time. I think, age is probably one factor in that. And I think that Tim actually wrote in earlier that Jim would like a Super Bowl ring to go on his finger, and that definitely, for sure, would like to do that as well, and to reiterate that John was in San Diego at one point in time when he was here in San Diego at one point in time back in the day. With that, guys, on Monday, we kicked off another great chapter for women's professional sports. The Professional Women's Hockey League, the PWHL, kicked off their inaugural season on Monday in front of sellout crowds across Toronto and in Ottawa on Tuesday and in Boston today at the UMass Lowell Arena. I talked about this on Press on Wednesday, a brand new 6-team league born out of a merger between the Premier Hockey Federation, or the former NWHL, and the Professional Women's Hockey Players Association, the PWHPA, forming a 6-team Original Six league to play a full-fledged 30, 40-game season from January till at least April or part of May, and featuring some of the biggest names in women's hockey from both Team USA, Team Canada, and other big names who were in the NWHL and in the Premier Hockey Federation as well. And Brandon, like I said, though, in regards to my thoughts on this, again, having been a big women's sports advocate since I was in 8th grade, and having seen the national teams of Canada and Team USA playing games in Anaheim, games in Los Angeles, and how the fan base really reacted and gravitated towards it, I explicitly said, though, that while it's great, though, that there's this new league here, we know, though, that women's sports leagues have had a bit of a struggle maintaining long sustained seasons. Like, they stop and go after 5 years because the financial backing's not there. The people don't come to the games. All that nonsense I hear from non-women sports fans out there. But as I said, though, on PR last week and even today, that 2023 was a very big hallmark year for women's sports. The WNBA scored $40 million in TV revenue from 5 or 6 different networks. They had their first back-to-back champion in 20-plus seasons. Soccer has grown exponentially with the NWSL. They've had great success when they added the teams here in San Diego and in Los Angeles. They're adding a team in the Bay Area. They're going back to Salt Lake City as well. And now this new women's hockey league starts up here. So I think, for one thing, get the household names like Hillary Knight, Nicole Hensley, Megan Keller, Haley Skamura, Marie-Philippe Poulin. Get all the big-name players that we watch in the Olympics a almost year-round platform now to play games where they don't go away for 2 years and you don't see them again until the Olympics. But my only small concern, and again, I said this and beat this dead horse on PR on Wednesday, I know that this league is 3 days old playing, but a part of me, though, is a little bit concerned that this league is not catering to a full-fledged audience right now, where you literally strategically put teams in 6 markets that you knew would not fail. 6 markets in the upper Northeast, plus your hometown in Minneapolis, St. Paul. They got their home opener. Sellout crowd expected at XL Energy Center, not playing at like, Minnesota Duluth or at the Golden Gophers barn, though. They're playing at a full-fledged NHL arena on Saturday. So though I am backing this league, again, I got to interview Haley Skamura from Team USA a couple years ago on a former podcast outlet. Hillary Knight went to college with my cousin at Wisconsin years ago. Like, I know women in this game. I've been around a lot of them. And my only concern, though, is that, again, I know this is year 1. It's day 3. But it's hard for me right now. Like, 10% of me is a little bit reluctant because I don't have a team to actually support in my hometown. I'm more watching to see what Hillary Knight does, what Amanda Kessel would do, what Megan Keller does, what Haley Skamura does, what Nicole Hensley does, what what all the players that I watch in the Olympics every 2 years do. And it's hard to like really jump on board for a team because the closest team to San Diego is in your home state of Minnesota. That's my only small concern right now, is I know it's year 1, but right now 6 teams all in traditional markets. If anything out here out west, and again, I don't want to make this West Coast, East Coast, and yada, 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 but having been at what was at the time the most attended women's hockey game for Team USA on home ice in February of 20 in Anaheim, California, having gone to a game before Christmas, December of last year at Staples Center, Crypto.com Arena, almost practically a sellout in the lower bowl. Seattle had a great following for their game when Team USA played Canada. That a lot of these Western markets and these so-called non-traditional hockey markets are crazy for the game. Pro men or pro women does not really matter. So, Brandon, what is your thoughts on the launch of this new league here within the last couple days?
Well, good for them. I know when we started, or when I joined Sportsminute back a few years ago, we dedicated a segment to talk about women's in sports, being softball, volleyball, whatever, or the big news story of the day for women's sport. So I'm happy. I mean, we have our own, broadcast of the women's, football league, Oregon Cougars, that you can catch here during the season. So I'm happy for women's sports. I mean, yes, it should thrive a little bit year 1, year 2, being 6 markets that are traditionally hockey markets. I'd like to see it kind of do with the WNBA, maybe expand every couple of years and grow. And, like you said, I mean, the Olympics are going to be a big selling point down the road to get these girls out there. I'd like to see what the NBA did with the WNBA, kind of take part ownership in this. The only thing is I hope the NHL markets these teams and their superstars better than the WNBA or NBA does with the WNBA. But I think women's sports is going to be here. I think it's going to take some time. Give them 2 years with the original 6, and then maybe go to 8 or 10 teams, move into, the LA market or, Kansas City or somewhere where it's still cold enough. They still know hockey, but, try to get new markets in there. But, props to them. Hopefully, maybe with your connections, we can get one on to kind of sit and talk to her and see what she thinks. But I think this is definitely going to be a big stepping stone to help grow women's sports. I mean, go back to the Women's Football League. Their championship games on ESPN. We are covering the Oregon Cougars football here. So, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Oregon's one of what 3 teams that has a network that's covering them outside of ESPN.
Yeah,
So,
I believe so. Yeah.
it's going to be some growing times. It's I don't know if they have a TV deal yet or if they're just playing on local TV and stuff. But once that comes about, like I said, I hope the NHL kind of does what the NBA did and get on board and support these teams, and I hope they can market them to better than the NBA did the WNBA.
And I can confirm real quick, and I think I discussed this on PR on Wednesday, is there are deals in place locally with Nesson for Boston, Bally Sports North up in the great state of Minnesota. CBC Radio has the games for the 3 teams in Canada on top of, I believe, Sportsnet also has the game. So there is good coverage. And for fans like me and James and Chris out of Market, games are also shown on the PWHL's YouTube channel for free as well. So I did watch the Boston game after I signed off PR today here on C2C. And James, I'm glad, though, that Brandon brought up the WNBA, though, because the last thing that I think anybody out there who wants to see women's sports thrive and grow and succeed is you don't want to have what happened to the WNBA about, I'd say, 15 or 20 years ago when they began to prop up new teams in Orlando and Portland and Miami, and the Heat and the Magic and the Blazers weren't fully on board. And then it boiled down to attendance and money and this and that. And those teams either folded or moved to new markets like the Sun or the Miracle in Orlando went to Connecticut to become the Sun, owned by the Mohegan Sun Indian tribe. And then the fact that the Portland Fire folded, and then like the likes of the Comets folding, the Monarchs folding, the Detroit Shock moving several times to Tulsa and then to Dallas, and then the San Antonio Silver Stars went from Utah to SA to Vegas, and they become, the back-to-back WNBA champs. And the only teams that are left from day one is LA, Phoenix, and New York, who survived the test of time. That's what I don't want the PWHL to do, though, is do that. And then everything, hits the fan and goes haywire. But James, give us your thoughts here, though, about the start, though, of the PWHL 3 days into their season.
Well, I do like it as well in the New York area. They're going to have the games on the Madison Square Garden network, so that's really good. It's not like you have to really go looking for it on your cable guide or DirecTV guide or whatever, dish. And the fact that all the games will be streamed on YouTube, there's no, blackout restriction or anything like that. So that's really good. That's a welcoming point for those trying to find it. So I really like that part about it. When you mentioned the expansion and the wrongdoings of the WNBA a while back, this kind of reminds me of not necessarily the markets that already have teams, but when like the XFL and the USFL and the AAF, when they just started off small, they didn't expand too much out there. They did go to markets that didn't have teams, but so they're good right now with the 6 they have. The markets, the cities, that's really good. I really think that's good. Because you see little girls at hockey games all the time, and they just want to go out and play. They want an opportunity later on, whether it's in high school, college. They want a pro league. They want opportunities in every single sport that they can get. They want fairness, equality. So this is a step in the right direction for the hockey players that want to play after college. So I really think that's a great point. The fact that they have 3 teams in Canada, 3 in the US, that's also really good. And as you guys mentioned, they're not playing at, universities. When you think about Minnesota, they're playing at, I think, where the Wild play, the XL Energy Center. New York, they're having 2 arenas there. Ottawa's in an arena, so that's really good. It's not like the NHL's Coyotes playing in the gym. That's a really good thing. that they've stayed away from that with the PWHL. So, if I remember, or if somebody sends me a link of, this game starting at this time on YouTube, I'm definitely going to try to watch. But I'm going to find myself watching some of these games and just supporting women and what they want to do, where it's not like, hey, you just go on and sell whatever, at the mall, or you're supposed to stay in the kitchen and all that crap. No, no, no. We have women here that are competitive, that want to play, and you're seeing it all over sports. I mean, if it can be as successful as the NWSL, uh, I think that'd be nice. But I really like what they did again, like you mentioned, Colin, not spreading out too much, just staying with those hockey towns. That's the first thing I noticed looking up the league today. So it's going to go off to a good start, and I'm hoping for more um, places, maybe more west in Canada. I think that'd be nice. And then just spread out to the U.S., maybe Seattle. I think Seattle would be an Seattle, Portland, Vancouver. I think that would be the next options if I was the PWHL.
And those are great spots. And I think, like I said, though, about like Anaheim having over 13,000 people at Honda Center for when Team USA played Canada in the rivalry series, February of 20, 13,000 plus in the building, Staples Center / Crypto.com Arena having 2 good games that were also pretty much full in the lower bowl. So definitely a good starting point. And Chris,
Yeah.
I kind of, again, love where this league is at right now, where, again, 6 teams put where they are right now, New York and Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, places like that. And again, I think it's important, though, like James said, because the times that I have gone to women's hockey games, USA Canada in Anaheim, USA Canada in Los Angeles, both times, and the third time, the different third time, was when I got to meet Team USA in 2018, like a day after they won the gold in Pyeongchang, South Korea over Canada. And they were flown in and they went to the game and stuff. I got to meet a few of the players afterwards. But I did notice, though, like James said, though, a lot of the youth teams, the Anaheim Lady Ducks, the LA Junior Kings, the LA Lions, which is the women's program for the Kings, they were in attendance in Anaheim and in Los Angeles. And that right there, I think, is the ultimate goal of the PWHL, is to, connect those youth teams with those players and say, hey, you can do it just like Hillary Knight and Sarah Nurse and Marie-Philippe Poulin. And again, be like those role models out there where you have something to shoot for if you're a young girl playing 16 AA or 18 AA for the Lady Ducks or the LA Lions or the Arizona Kachinas or just some of the other Western-based hockey teams who have girls programs within their markets. But Chris, your overall thoughts on day 3 so far of the PWHL after their launch on Monday?
No, it's good. I'm glad they're they launched the league. As far as Tim's comment about TSN, I think I saw a post that games will be on TSN. But as far as the league goes, and with any league that starts up, you're gonna need backing from the pro league, whether it be NHL or something like that, NFL if you're starting some other league. But you're gonna need some backing from the pro league, and you're gonna need markets, not necessarily where they have teams there, but where you can grow a fan base. And then you're gonna have to figure out how to market it and televise it. Just, find a way to stream it, put it on TV. But I think it's gonna grow slowly. You want to start out with, a little bit of teams. 8, 6 to 8 teams. You could put 9 teams the next year. Something like that. But I think you start out small and then just work your way up. But I think it'll work out.
I think it's going to work out, too. And again, it's going to be a very slow process as the PWHL just kind of gets their legs under them. By the way, I can also confirm, guys, per my report on PR earlier today, that I believe Ottawa or even Toronto has sold out their season ticket inventory for their season. So that right there already tells me that the league is already going to be in some good hands, though, when a team already has season seats already sold for the entire season. And again, we are wishing all the best to the PWHL as they move on. With that, guys, our last topic for the night goes back to college football. But after seeing some of the disasters that we had seen in some of the bowl games, due to the opt-outs and even the transfer portal, there were 3 ideas for solutions. Which of these do you agree with most? Per what Adam put in our group chat, guys, that a writer has some solutions. 3, in fact, to both unclog a busy month of December and also to incentivize play in bowl games. The first one would be getting rid of early signing day, stopping the fall transfer portal window, and most notably allow the bowl games to compensate players for their participation. Brandon, I'll start with you. Out of those 3, eliminating early signing day, closing the transfer portal while the season is still going on, or paying players or compensation for partaking in the game. So let me read those again one more time real quick.
Yep.
The 3 ideas presented here by this writer, first one being to eliminate early signing day. Number 2, eliminating or stopping or halting the transfer portal for the fall season during the course of the bowl season. Or thirdly, and most notably, allow the bowl game to compensate players for their participation. Brandon, in those, or in that order, 1, 2, 3, rank them. You are a host of a program called Rank 'em. So from number 1 to 3, what would you do in that order?
Honestly, I'm getting rid of all 3 of them because I don't think the players need to be compensated for playing in a bowl game. I think the transfer portal needs to go away with some circumstances in the off season. And then the third one was signing day. Yeah, signing day should happen when the season's over with. The big thing for me is these companies that are giving the kids these NIL deals need to step up and go, you know what? If your team's making a bowl game and you're not playing, we want some of our money back. So they're getting paid outside of that. Their team is in the bowl game. They should be getting, they should be playing. This skipping out. One, to me, as a teammate, I would look differently at my team members. Now, let's take Florida State out of the equation there because they did theirs to boycott the bowl game, which I think the whole team should have boycotted. But the players that are looking out for themselves.
And again, I call them a group of sore losers on PR on Wednesday for what they did.
Yeah, and you're not wrong, but again, they're trying to make a point that they should have been in the bowl series, and I still think they should have been. But
I agree, but I kind of lost respect though for what they did, though.
Yeah, I think I would have had more respect for them if the whole team would have just said, "No, we're not playing." But with the players that are that are going to be first round picks or whatever, or want to go to the NBA or NHL, NFL, they need to still play that bowl game. I think the people that are paying their checks for the NIL deals should be the ones stepping in and be like, "Hey, we're paying you, you're playing." So, but if I had to rank the 3 that he listed, I don't think the players should get compensated for playing in the bowl game. So that would be my first one to go. And then the second one would be the portal. It needs to be closed. So,
yeah, and I think Jason's right, though, that the schools would have to compensate the players. Schools make millions for the bowl game appearance. And Jason, to my point on PR on Wednesday, maybe they should have been in, but to get blown out by 60 points, you just proved the committee's point. And I mean, that goes to my point that I made on PR on Wednesday is group of sore losers, sadly. And now you see why you're the laughingstock right now, and that the committee did get it right. And Callum McClurg and Brandon Herrera were wrong.
20 or 22 starters didn't play from what I've been seeing. So it was a bunch of second and third string players play. So I mean, Georgia probably still would have won that game, but I think the whole team should have not have played to make a better point. But that's over and done with, and now we got our championship game.
and it's going to be a good one. So with that again, James, this writer has 3 solutions to both unclog a busy month of December and also to incentivize players to play in the games. So again, James, the 3 were: eliminate the early signing day period, eliminate or close the transfer portal window while the bowl season is still going on, and notably allow the bowls, or in Jason's case, have the school compensate players for partaking in the bowl game. So, James, if you were to rank them 1 to 3, 1 being the best and 3 being the worst out of the 3, what would it be?
Okay, number 1 would be the fall transfer portal window. I don't like that because that should wait till the season's over. I don't like that at all. I mean, there were so many announcements made during the regular season. I didn't like that whatsoever. Someone transferring. I just didn't like that at all. I don't know. Just took a dapper on your college, knowing that, hey, someone's not going to be around, and then give somebody hope, but wait for next year, not for that season. I feel like that's something like free. This is basically free agency,
De
and
facto free agency, as I have long said on PR.
when has that been done in other leagues during the season? It's always been before the season or in the off season. I think probably the closest we've had was in spring training. Remember Machado and Harper signing in spring training. So excuse me.
In February, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's close as we ever got to, getting close to the in season. But I don't like that. Second would probably be eliminate the early signing day. I want that also in the in the off season. Right after their transfers, it should be just a week of doing that, and the coaches should have the power just to do the meetings via Zoom. You don't have to go out and fly and show what car you have or what watch you have and said, hey, you can have this if you come to this university. Excuse me. So that would be 2, and then 3, allowing bowls to compensate players for participation. Excuse me. So I can see how this is a thing because I get players. Some of them want to play, but a lot of them are waiting for the big payday in the NFL. So I don't think it's going to matter for those players, even if you played them to play in bowls. But excuse me, think about all those players that they don't get an NIL deal. That would be awesome for those players, especially all the ones that had to, all the third string backups that had to play in that Florida State game. That would have been worth the blowout, I think, if they got paid for it all. So yeah, that's my 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I don't know if Chris is with us right now. So, I mean, I will probably agree with James more so. And I said this on PR on Wednesday. The transfer portal should be closed until the day after a season ends.
Mhm.
Volleyball season ends, then the next day portal opens up.
Yep.
Same with soccer. Soccer national title game's over, portal's open. Same goes though with football, is that the portal, once the season begins, it should be like fantasy football. It's locked. You can't change your lineup if you're playing, like, I think there's a format where you can play like you have the same lineup for the full week. Same exact thing would have to happen here. Once the season begins, the portal is locked shut and closed until 12:01 a.m. the day after the national title game for that sport. So again, Chris, we have talked about perhaps transfer portal still being open during the course of the season. We have had getting rid of early signing day or national signing day, and then compensation for athletes. So, Chris, ranked 1 through 3, what would you probably do to perhaps maybe entice players to actually partake in bowl games with all the opt-outs that we've had this season?
Number 3 would probably be incentive. Number 2 would be the signing day, and then one would be the transfer portal. But I think you could probably work around that where in the middle of the season you can say, yeah, I want to be in the transfer portal, but it won't take an effect until after the season. And even if and after the season, meaning after not the regular season, but the bowls in the playoff. Once the playoff is over and you got your champion, that's when it can open. And then you can say, well, if you sit out and you went through the portal, but you sit out, you lose your eligibility to use it.
And I think that I also may have mentioned that there are still, I believe, 2, maybe 3 federal lawsuits right now still. Right now, I believe stayed, but might be resuming next month regarding the transfer rules right now in regards to, I think I reported on a story about Raekwon Battle, who is a basketball player at West Virginia, who was eligible to play before Christmas. And there was some talk, though, that if the Mountaineers won a couple of games while he was playing, and if the jury ruled the other way, that the wins would then come off the board and taken away, stripped off of the win-loss record. So again, that gray area, but I would definitely go. Transfer portal should only be open once that season ends. Once volleyball is done, next day, portal's open. Football ends on Tuesday. Again, 12:01 a.m. the day after the national title game, portal's opened up. So that'd be my number one. Number two, I agree with James. Do signing day virtually, where, again, I know it's a big thing. And I know firsthand, having seen a few of my friends go through the process and stuff like that, where they signed their national letter of intent to go to San Diego State or USD or UC San Diego or Cal or some big name university like that. I know that's special. But again, the pomp and circumstance right now is just too much, and especially when it's an early signing day too. And then I don't know, though, if there would be a fair way to basically give cash incentives or money incentives out for playing in the bowl games. Simple, like Brandon said, though. I mean, you've worked so hard to get to that to the end of the season to get to a game. Like, it's a de facto playoff game, and you don't want to play in a playoff game because it's not the national title game or not the big name bowl games like on New Year's Day. Like, I get the whole thing if you have stock like Caleb Williams, but any other player who's not going into the NFL draft, I agree with Brandon, though. Like, it almost in a way is like, it's kind of hard to like link it, but it's like Brandon was saying, though, like, you would probably look at your teammates differently. Like, you've been riding with me all year, ride or die. But now once we get to our playoff game, we get to the Holiday Bowl or the Pop-Tarts Bowl or the whatever bowl game you want to go to. Now you don't want to play all of a sudden because it's a one-off. Like, I would definitely more so be on board, though, about the portal for transferring being closed until the day after each college season ends. Like Chris said, though, you can like make your intentions known, but it doesn't become official till the day after the national title game. Brandon, you look like you might be a little bit on the fence about that one. What do you think?
No, I actually like that one. I mean, to me, I think the transfer portal just needs to go away, unless a coach leaves or a head coach leaves, then open it up. But I'd be all for, the transfer portal is closed from the first tip off or whatever sport till the end of
day one. As soon as that season begins, whether you play or not, on opening day, portal is closed and locked shut till the day after the national title game for that sport.
Yep, exactly. No, I like that idea, and I'd be on board with that.
I think, actually, guys, a lot of college fans would probably, and I think in wake of what we have seen over the bowl process, that I think we'd be all in favor. A lot of people would be in favor of that becoming a thing. With that, guys, we've gone about 10 minutes over the hour mark, so soccer stoppage time. So if Adam wants to yell at me for the show not being an hour, he can. But Brandon, we'll go to you first, my man. Final thoughts for tonight's program are what?
No, I enjoyed doing the show. We got some great topics. It's always fun to come on. And, for wrestling fans, tomorrow could be a big day here in Minnesota. Strong rumors that WWE is going to make an announcement on next year's WrestleMania, which if all indication points to, it'll be coming to Minnesota, and this guy and his son are going to be totally jacked for that one.
Would it be at US Bank Stadium? I think it would.
Yes, it would be at US Bank Stadium. So yes, it would be, and I put in our chat, and it's a joke going around the house here that it may be divorce papers. So I will be at WrestleMania if it comes to town.
Ooh, come hell or high water, Herrera will
Yes.
be at WrestleMania 41. And we'll
Yep.
find out more about that maybe on Between the Ropes on next Tuesday.
Yeah.
By the way, I do have to mention the fact that I was at Pechanga Arena, San Diego, for those of you wrestling fans real quick who watched day one from my hometown on Monday. I was in the building Saturday for indoor soccer. They had this big welcome banner for all the talent in the backstage area. And I took a picture, sent it to the group, and I said, and who would have thought, though, that a guy with the last name of Mysterio would be booed to high hell in his own hometown on Monday? And sure enough, the arena IG story had a fan who had a sign that read, San Diego disowns Dom. And I thought that might be the single greatest sign I've seen in my brief time being a wrestling fan from like 2005 till 2011 or 2012. But regardless, it was a great night. A lot of my friends went. They had a great night. And, of course, The Rock came back, too, after he made that big announcement for the UFL coming back on the spring. And he came back, and apparently he wants Mr. Reigns, apparently, it sounds like. With that, Mr. Gonzalez, I know you've been wheezy down there, my friend, but any final thoughts?
Yeah, survived the show, kind of. It's felt better, though, to talk about something and not just try to think about it and have no words of it. So this was good talk.
Always good talk, even if you sound like Wheezy from Toy Story, right? With that in mind, Mr. Bacon, any final thoughts?
Yeah, great show. Good topics. And thanks, everyone, for watching, tuning in. There are great things coming to Coast, and just keep watching.
Keep watching and stay tuned to our IG account. Again, we are teasing our program schedule. We're just trying to lock in a few things. Again, me and Sarge have been kind of having back and forth dialogue. He has a very exciting project that he's been working on for a while that will be coming to fruition. We're also locking in some other stuff as well. We will be having the Immaculate Grid coming back as well next Monday on January 8th as well, after our brief hiatus for the holiday break. I don't know, though, Chris, do we have any programming on Thursday that we'd like to tell the viewers about?
We have Creeping It Real at 7 Central. And then I'm not sure if we're doing Kicking It, but I'm sure we are. So Kicking It around 10, I believe it is. 10 Central.
So there you go. Eleanor Wagner will be back on her bi-weekly episode of Creeping It Real on Thursday at around 5 o'clock Pacific time. And then we'll see if the Three Rig Circus and Benny Hill theme song-led Kicking It program comes back on Thursday night. I know I'll be at the office tomorrow, not this office, the actual job site office all day on Thursday at 4:30 for women's college basketball tomorrow at USD between them and Pepperdine University. But again, folks, we'll have more information about our scheduling and all that good stuff, though, once we are, again, just get some more of the some of the T's crossed and I's dotted as more time goes on. But again, we'll have some sort of announcement pretty soon, though, about the upcoming schedule of programming as more time does go on. With that in mind, Brandon, if anyone missed Rankum over the past couple days, what did you guys talk about?
Heck, today we did our 5 states' weirdest laws, and guys, it makes you think why. I mean, that's just simple. And who was the first in some of these? So, yeah, Ranko's pretty fun. We got a few more states to do, and then we'll have to think of another good state one to come up with. But check it out.
Please let me know what you do, California. Whenever that does
California.
happen.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, because I know a few loony laws out there that I recall from like years ago that it was actually funny. It was actually put in the season program for the ECHL San Diego Gulls that they put weird state laws. I need to find that program, Brandon, and read them off, though, when we get off the air here in a bit, because I think I have it nearby. But weird laws are weird laws. And, of course, New Year's Day means that a lot of other weird laws do, in fact, kick into effect. With that, James, Entertainment Hour. Got some good stuff, I'm sure, planned coming up for the weekend, yes.
Yeah, I'm hoping to make that. And shout out to everybody holding it down when I was gone. That's a day where I couldn't do anything at all in that night. So, yeah, thank you to Tim coming on, of course, Chris and Randy holding it down. I'm going to get into probably new things for 2024. We're going to have new, sitcoms already in the work, or new episodes of old sitcoms coming back. Eventually this month and next month, they'll be back and ready to go. So those seasons will continue. I think we'll go through those. I got to make the script tomorrow. So just look out for Entertainment Hour on Friday night. And then I should be on Morning Tailgate Sunday morning recapping the 2 Saturday Week 18 NFL games, and then the rest of the NFL Sunday action as the regular season ends.
And I will mention, because I can't make Entertainment Hour due to work on Friday, but I was intrigued by the first episode of The Floor, hosted by Rob Lowe. I love trivia. I love game shows, and I was kind of utterly blown away by what they're doing at Fox. So check out that program. And again,
I need to
once
catch
more,
up on
folks,
that.
I want to see that.
Yeah, I was thoroughly intrigued with it, honestly. I really was. With that, folks, we won't keep you much longer here. Again, we've gone well over the hour. Again, Adam's going to probably chew me out when this program's over for going over the strict 60-minute time frame here. Again, this is not press row, so I don't have free reins to go beyond an hour plus on the dot here. With that, though, folks, for Big B, Brandon Herrera, Chris P. Bacon, Chris Mabry, James Gonzalez, and our main host here, Adam Barber, yours truly, Cal McClurg, saying goodnight here from Southern California. We'll see you back here for Sports Minute again next Wednesday evening, with me out of the picture next Wednesday because I'll be at work again next week. But again, Brandon, Chris, James, and Adam will be back with you here on Sports Minute next Wednesday at around 9 o'clock Pacific time, 11 o'clock Central, back here on your own for programming involving sports, life, and everything in between on the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network, folks. With that in mind, have a good night, and we'll see you back here next time. Till then, bye-bye.